Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're doing something a little bit different this time. We have a Dark Magician deck profile for you guys. So this is post Legendary Duelist Season 3 by the way, so stuff like Magician's Souls and Soul Servant have gone down in price, meaning this deck is much cheaper to build now. And this is my personalized deck, this isn't anything ran by any sort of meta tutorial things. So there are going to be some missing cards here, but I will tell you which ones are different and are going to be different, as I have some on the way and some ready to be put into the deck. So I will start straight away. So to start off, we will start with the monsters. So we have our 2 copies of Dark Magician, just a standard anything in Dark Magician deck. It's one of the best combo extenders in the deck. It's a level 7 Dark Spellcaster, as you know, and it can be easily summoned. That lighting is awful. I apologise for that. Oh, Jesus. There we go. That's better. So, yeah, 2 Dark Magicians, and then, of course, we have arguably the best card in the deck. We have 3 copies of Magician's Souls. Now, this one was a bit of a pricier one a while back, but now it's about 20 GBP, or I think about $25 US. So it's basically a free Dark Magician once per turn or a free special summon, which can get you into other combo extenders. So overall, it's literally one of the best cards in the deck, so definitely play this one of the 3, no question. So then, moving on to the next monster, we have the Searcher of the deck. 3 Magician's Rods, it is absolutely fantastic, one of the best Dark Magician supports currently in the game. So when you normal summon this card, you get to search free Dark Magician Spell Trap every single time. Granted, it can be ashed, it can be impermed, it can be negated in any sort of monster negate, but it is one of the free extenders and it recycles itself in the graveyard during your opponent's turn. Easily one of the best things you can possibly have in this deck. Then moving on to our combo extenders, we have 1 Dark Magician Girl and 1 Apprentice Illusion Magician. Now these cards, this one gets you to Magician's Souls and more draw power via Soul Servant. This one gets you to Dark Magicians and boosts your Magician's attack. And then you can overlay these to create some rank 6s that easily get you into Ebon, so they are all very good. Moving on to our generic cards now, we have 1 copy of Just a Confite and 2 Ashes. Easily some of the best cards in the deck. It is obviously a monster negate, and then this bounces one of your opponent's cards from your field back to the hand, which makes it very good and also makes it a very easy card to just cheap out your opponents. It can also be summoned with Magician Navigation and can be sent to the graveyard with Magician's Souls. So both very good cards. Lastly, we have our Walking Fusion, 1 Timaeus the United Dragon. I would personally play this at 2. Because it is basically just a walking poly. It can summon anything from the extra deck that's a fusion monster as long as you use a spellcaster. So it can summon generic fusions like Starving Venom, or it can summon super poly targets like Trifiovertium. As long as you use a spellcaster within the fusion summon, you don't even have to use this very card. So you can summon things like Guardian Chimera as well with it, which makes it absolutely fantastic. And lastly, for the monsters, we have 1 copy of Illusion of Chaos and 1 copy of Magician of Chaos. Now, I have another one of these fellas on the way, so that's 2 searches for the deck and 1 that gets you to this. So, say you have this in your hand and this is on the field, not only can this be Eternal Souled, since its name becomes Dark Magician while on the field or in the graveyard, but when that gets destroyed, you can just whip this out from your hand, and then you can bounce that back to your hand if it's an illegitimate summon. So if it's going to be taken off the field via a monster effect, say Dragoon, you can bounce this back to your hand, summon back this, and then it's a free negate. So it's an absolutely great combo extender, and that wraps it out for the monsters for now, so let's move on to the spells. Okay, so we'll start with our triple copy of Dark Magical Circle and triple copy of Soul Servant. Now, these cards work in absolute tangents with each other, so the main combo here is, I just shove these to the side, Circle, and then you chain Soul Servant. So Soul Servant top decks a card, meaning you can't ash it, which is fantastic within itself, but they'd also chain block Circle, meaning Circle won't get negated. The only thing that can be negated is Soul Servant, so at the very least, you'll get your Circle to pop off. So Soul Servant, absolutely fantastic, and it's also really great draw power. It lets you draw cards up to the number of Dark Magician Girls, Dark Magician, or Palladium monsters with different names in the graveyard on the field. It's just fantastic. So if you play 1 Magician, 1 Magician Girl, 1 Palladium Mahad and 1 Palladium Mana. That's 4 cards per turn. It is absolutely fantastic just for a banish. The only downside to this card is you can't top deck itself, but you can top deck cards from the field, graveyard, or deck, or your hand even. So you can recycle your things like Magician's Souls if you need it. And Circle just gets you a free card and a banish once per turn. It is absolutely fantastic. So yeah. Then we have 1 copy of Magician's Salvation. This is what gets you to Eternal Soul. It also lets you summon back Dark Magician Girl or Dark Magician, depending on whether you Magician Souls it or something. So it's really good in that regard. So yeah, it's definitely a 1-of in the deck. I wouldn't put it any higher than that. Then we have the ritual spell Chaos Form. Now I'm playing this because I'm only playing 1 Secrets. This card basically just summons either Illusion or Magician of Chaos, and you can banish Dark Magician from your graveyard to summon it instead. Great ritual card, but it's only really a 1-of. Then we have our single copy of Poly. This is mainly just for Guardian Chimera, because when it's in the graveyard, Guardian Chimera can't be targeted with card effects. Generic fusion card, it's not overly good, not overly bad, but it's not terrible. It's a staple in basically any fusion deck. Then we'll go over all the fusion/poly cards. So we have 1 fusion deployment, 1 Secrets of Dark Magic, 1 Magicalized Fusion, and 1 Super Poly. Super Poly target, Starving Venom, Trophy of Vertium, whatever. Magicalized basically gets you to Quintet or Dragoon if you're playing Dragoon, which I'm not. Secrets, not only is it a ritual spell, but also a fusion spell, gets you to the Dark Magicians really easily. And Fusion Deployment gets you a free material. So Fusion Deployment, you target, say, the Dark Magicians. You can either summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl directly from your deck. Fantastic. And then if you summon the other one with Souls, it's just a free of the Dark Magicians that turn. Okay, then we have Draw Power. So we've got 1 Upstart Goblin, 1 Spellbook of Knowledge. You tribute a spellcaster in your field, and you get to draw 2, and your opponent gains 1000 life points, you draw 1. Pretty standard, but Spellbook of Knowledge is definitely a staple in the spellcaster type decks, so overall pretty good. And the last spells we have are Call by the Grave and Monster Reborn. Staple in the deck, negates hand traps, special summons your monsters back. Not much to say about that, but very good cards. And lastly, for trap cards, we have our 2 Eternal Souls. Now this card I have to talk about for a little bit. Not only does this make all your Dark Magicians unaffected, so that means your Magicians or Magician of Chaos or Dragon Knights. Not only does it make them unaffected by your opponent's card effects, which means they can't be used as Super Poly targets, it also allows you to special summon 1 Dark Magician every turn. The only downside to this card, and it's pretty bad, but it's only one downside, if it's face up and leaves the field in any way, so if it's bounced, spun, destroyed, banished, any sort of leaving the field in any way that's face up, all your monsters are destroyed. Now, that does sound like a really bad turn down, and that would maybe put it at 1, but it also, the upside is too good to pass it up, if that makes sense. So, Eternal Soul, definitely staple in any Dark Magician deck. Then I play 2 copies of Navigation. Not only is it a graveyard negate, it's a spell and trap negate, but also it lets you summon 2 spellcasters per turn. So say if you kind of brick out, you get a Dark Magician opening hand, set this face down, then when it's your opponent's turn, activate it, summon the Magician, and say an Apprentice or something. It's a brilliant card, and also it negates in the grave. Lastly, we have Infinite Imperm, Torrential Tribute, and Magician's Combination. Imperm and Combination both negates. Magician Combination, say you have a Dark Magician on the field, you contribute it, summon a Dark Magician Go from your graveyard, then negate a monster, spell, or trap. Torrential Tribute destroys all monsters on the field when a monster is summoned. Granted, this will destroy your monsters too, but Eternal Soul will bring your Dark Magician straight back, so it's not really that big of a loss. And Imperm, standard, should be a staple in any deck. And that about rounds it up for the main deck, so let's move on to the extra deck. I'll go by different sections, so Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, Link. So for the Fusions, I have quite a lineup. I've got 1 copy of the Dark Magicians, so this card requires 1 Dark Magician or 1 Dark Magician Girl and a Spellcaster. So you could even use themselves, so you can use Dark Magician plus Dark Magician Girl, or just one of those 2 plus a Spellcaster. Now this card is absolutely fantastic because not only can you use cards that are named Dark Magician, so Dragon Knight, and another Spellcaster, but it also allows you to draw once per turn when a spell or trap is activated, and when it's popped, you just get a free Dark Magician or Magician Girl, so it's a +1 in card advantage against your opponent when they destroy this boy, which is very, very good. And then we have possibly the staple in this deck, since no Dragoon, Dragon Knight. It doesn't really have a great effect, other than the fact that it becomes Dark Magician while in the field in a graveyard, meaning you can Eternal Soul it, but it also protects your back row so you can't target or destroy it, which is fantastic. And you can also, it's just a beat stick really, so another fantastic card. And now, our last Dark Magician specific fusion, we have the Master of Chaos. Now, I only play this at 1 because it's not that easy to summon. You need either an Illusion of Chaos or Magician of Chaos, or you need the Eye of Timaeus, which we don't actually play in this deck anymore. But basically, on summon, you can special summon a light or dark monster from your graveyard, and then tribute a light or dark monster on your field, and banish all face-up monsters your opponent controls. It's absolutely phenomenal card, and when it gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add one spell from your graveyard back to your hand. Very, very good. It's non-target either. Lastly, for our spellcaster fusions, we've got one copy of Quintet. It's just a end game sort of card, so if you're running low and you've got all these spellcasters in your graveyard, play Magical Lights Fusion, you get a 4.5k beat stick on your field, and if you use 5 separate ones, it pops your entire monster's field. Pops your entire opponent's field. It's very, very good, and overall I think it's a very good card to use in Dark Magician. Lastly, we have one copy of Guardian Chimera. So, Guardian Chimera, standard in any fusion deck, it's just 3 monsters with different names. One has to be from hand at least, and one has to be from field at least, and basically that means you either get 2 pops and a draw, or 2 draws and a pop, every single time you summon this card. It's also a beat stick, so you can use it as either just a wall, because it's got 3300 defense, or as an attack at 3300 attack. So, when this card's summoned, if you used 2 monsters from your hand and 1 from your field, you get to draw 2 cards and destroy 1 card on the field, or vice versa, so 2 field, 1 hand, 1 draw, 2 pops. Absolutely phenomenal card. Going down in price, so a lot of you should definitely try and pick that one up before it goes out of printing and then goes back up again inevitably. Lastly, we have our Super Poly targets. We have 1 copy of Predaplant Trophy of Urtium and 1 Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. They've both been reprinted in the new set of Legendary Rulers, and that's where these are from. This one here can copy a monster's attack and names and stats and everything, and when it's destroyed, it destroys all your opponent's special summon monsters. Triff negates a special summon from the extra deck every single turn, and if you have a Predator counter on the field, on your opponent's field, you can special summon it back for free. This is where you would come in with Dragospellia, but we don't play Dragospellia because it's just clogging up the extra deck. Moving on to Xyz monsters, there aren't many. We have 1 copy of Big Eye, just card control, steals your opponent's monsters. Then 1 Ebon Illusion Magician. Now this card is absolutely fantastic. Not only can you overlay it on top of rank 6 Xyz monsters, which we'll get to in a sec, it can special summon a Dark Magician from your deck or hand, and every time a Dark Magician attacks, you don't even need to use an overlay unit, it just banishes a card. It's fantastic. So say for a combo extender you attack with the Dark Magician, you activate this card's effect, you banish the monster it's attacking, you can still go through with the attack. So it's a very great card for OTKing, very great card for just attacking in general. It's a great combo extender. And lastly, for the Xyzes, we have 1 Naruto the Morale Leader. Great card, Spell and Trap Negate, very easy to summon, just 2 level 6 spellcasters, and then you can overlay Ebon on top of Naruto once you finish with the negates. It's fantastic, great combo extenders, and that about rounds it out for the Xyzes. So lastly, we'll move on to links. So we have some easy staples here. We've got 1 Nightmare Unicorn, just great for bouncing your opponent's cards, and if this would focus, that would be fantastic. There we are. Just 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and then we will start with 1 IP Masquerena. Great for link summoning during your opponent's turn and making them unaffected. So my combo, what I like to do is link IP and another card into Nightmare Unicorn, spin one of their monsters back. Fantastic start. And then we have 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy. Great for any dark themed deck. Generally, you want to use this as Dark Magician. It's a decent link too, so you could go like Rod and Souls. Then you just get to special summon one of your opponent's monsters that's dark from the graveyard. And when it's destroyed, you can add 1 dark monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So that's Souls, Rod, Jester Confit, basically any of those cards. Phenomenal card, really. And lastly, we have 1 Relinquished Anima. This card lets you equip one of your opponent's monsters that this card points to it. So say if they have their Baron de Fleur there, they've already used its negate and it's got no protection, you summon your Relinquished Anima, steal it. It's easy as that. It's absolutely amazing. It's so good. So that rounds it out for the extra deck as well. Now, you will notice there is no Dragoon in this. However, I would say the deck runs really well without it at the moment. I do have a Dragoon on the way, however, so once that's in there, I will probably make another one of these. And that about wraps it up for the deck profile. So I thank you all very much for watching. I know if you're not a massive Yu-Gi-Oh buff like me, and you're here for the other content, this isn't really going to speak to you as much. However, I do hope you enjoyed this, and if you'd like a combos video, feel free to let me know. So thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.